Greetings, everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J. Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation, Incorporated. I am excited to get into the podcast today, but before we get into it, I want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap and building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3, community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey, who is my paternal grandmother. She taught me a lot about faith, family, and community, and that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I get to introduce to you a woman who really needs no introduction. I mean, she can handle business from the crack house to the White House. She is someone that I am proud to call my sister friend, a powerhouse who the world has not yet had the pleasure of witnessing yet. She goes by the name of TK, Totus, Marie. So without further ado, audience, I present to you T. Marie King, the activist. Hey, lady.
What's going on, lady?
How are you doing today?
Girl, good.
Awesome. We're just so honored to have you today. And if you would, just briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, you did a pretty good job, but T. Marie King, community activist, my whole mission is basically making sure that people live the life and find the purpose that God has for them. And that just so happens to manifest its way through a few things that God has allowed me to pursue.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that works, and many may not know, but actually TK and I initially met and worked together during my first year of serving in AmeriCorps with the YWCA. She was actually my boss, and then we became sister friends. And so from that time to now, she has always been a person who cared about people. And, TK, I've always known you to be that activist, that advocate who definitely, you have a heart and a love for young people and just the community as a whole. And so when I saw you speaking at the Women's March, at Alabama, it was not a surprise to me, but if you'll just tell us how you got involved in that particular march, though.
It's funny because for probably about 2 or 3 weeks, I kept hearing rumors that my name kept getting brought up at the meetings. And I was like, oh, okay. Hope it's nice things. And finally, a lady that I know, she reached out to me and she's like, hey, look, you need to get involved with this. I think we need a real good person that can MC it and make sure everything flows like it needs to. And I believe you can do that. She said, they keep bringing up your name, but nobody has been bold enough to call you and ask you. She said, so I'm putting myself out there. And I was like, okay. I said, well, tell them they can contact me and, let's see what's going on. So I finally got in contact with the lead organizer. And she kind of gave me an overview of what it was supposed to do. I think at the time they were still waiting to hear from the national group. Okay. Of what the focus was going to be. But, I loved what the Alabama organizers were trying to do, but hearing all the different anti-Trump stuff, and this is a Trump protest, I really did not want to be attached to anything that was going to be mean-spirited. Right. So I told her, I said, if the stuff is good, if it's good points, if we're, empowering people, encouraging people that, we can still make changes in our communities regardless of who's in office. And if we give people action steps to do afterwards, I said, then I'm down. And so I said, but, let me know what you hear from National. So, it took a few days and they finally got the word of what the talking points and what the, I guess you could say, overall tone of the marches were supposed to be. So once I got that information, reviewed it, I felt comfortable with it in my spirit. So I said, you know what, let me go ahead and jump in here. And that way, let me do my part in trying to make sure I'm uplifting people. regardless of what's said. I can help bring it back to a central place if necessary. But, you know, it was a great experience. We had an enormous amount of people that showed up. We were not expecting that many people. We had no hecklers. We had no negativity. We had a great, amazing afternoon. So I was very proud to be a part of that.
Wow, wow. And I guess, you know, one of the things I wanted to ask was, you know, why do you believe the Women's March, you know, is so significant? And I know you were saying from that feedback that you got, you know, to have that peace in your spirit, that's part of it, why you chose to be a part of it. But overall, just the significance of it, what do you believe the significance of it is?
To me, it seemed as like we had got to a place in our society where it was like, whoa, something happened that we weren't expecting. And from what I saw in the community was a lot of people who may not necessarily operate as I do as an activist and organizer of, oh my God, what do we do now? So it's kind of like this cloud post-election that's kind of been hanging over our nation. And when I saw the marches being an opportunity to say, we can still fight, we still have a voice. And I love that about it, that people who probably were not even thinking or engaged in any type of activism work or community work, for them to be like, okay, I have to do something, I have to be involved in something, I gotta let my voice be heard. I thought it was a great opportunity to garner that energy, and hopefully all the marches that took place nationally and globally, that people would then plug in somewhere to get involved. So I saw that as an opportunity for it, and just seeing that energy and that many people, not just women, but men also, that said, you know, I want to go and march and represent, you know, my daughter, my mother, or I'm just representing the fact that I believe in women. You know, seeing men out there with their daughters on their shoulders marching or pushing their grandmother, you know, it showed that there is a heart in our nation. I just think sometimes life happens and we get caught up in our own silos and everything, and we see certain things based off of where we are. But I think that was an opportunity for people to come together and say, you know, let's be supportive of one another because we're all in this together.
Right, right. And I have to say, I had the opportunity to see the national, like online when they had it online. And what I was impressed about was, and it took me back to, I guess, with the 2008 election, even presidency, but the code that America Ferrera, she had given out a code about to text the word woman to. And when you text in, when you did that, then it asked for your first and last name, your email address, your zip code, and basically it was a message to say, you know, we'll be in touch with you. And so I mean, just overall for that to go global and to get that, I'm curious to see, you know, what the next steps can be with that, and kind of and how we will move forward with it. But it seemed like it was pretty well organized. Did it seem that way to you?
I felt like the marches were. I felt like they were organized very well. I guess as the activist I am, my concern is what is the call to action always. And I did get to see a little clip. I didn't get to watch all of America's speech, but I appreciated there being some type of setup of this is a way you can plug in. And for Birmingham, Greater Birmingham Ministry, we also had a number, you know, you could text, I think it was stand as 1 to 313131 and get updates on different things going on and how you can get involved. So little things like that for the average Joe that's not, you know, I work at a bank or I do this, but I want to be involved in my community. Things like that help keep people connected and involved in what's going on without them necessarily being on the ground grassroots person. So I love that things like that popped up. for people to be connected within their communities or even nationally, to know what's happening, what they can get involved in, or what little things they can do. I think the National Women's March website, I think it's been giving tips on things that you can do over the next 100 days,
right,
that are activism related. So I think things like that help, but it's those quick things to keep people engaged, and, we have to keep that momentum going. We just can't let that Women's March be just a one-day event. It has to be a continuous march. I know a lot of people get into the thing of, what are we marching for, or why are we still marching? But we march in different ways, and somebody's way of marching may be getting petitions signed to increase funding for schools, or whatever, or calling your senator, or writing letters. That may be somebody else's form of marching. So we can't lose that momentum. We have to find ways to continue to be plugged into what's happening nationally, statewide, and then on your city level. So we can't just look at what's happening in D.C. We also have to be concerned about what's happening exactly where we live.
Right. And if you would, that code that you have, if you would say that again for our audience to hear that.
It is text STAND, STAND, as one, STAND, STANDASONE, to 313131. And that's that'll be text alerts coming from Greater Birmingham Ministries.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome. And basically, you just what I wanted to follow up with about the way to plug in, you pretty much, said it. Everybody has their own way to do it, but whatever way, and I was thinking, like, how crucial is it for every female, to who can get plugged in, in the movement, for the lack of a better word. But I mean, if that's exactly what we will call it, but kind of what are those next steps? But I feel like you did touch on that to say, what you could do next, or in the meantime, like you were saying on the national level. So
it's so many things. I had somebody asking me earlier this week, was how do I get involved? And I was like, what do you like to do?
Right. Yeah.
And she was like, well, I like kids. I was like, cool. I said, you can go volunteer, at an after-school program. Go read to some kids out of school. That's actually contributing to the change that happens in our communities and in our society. So a lot of times, all you got to do is look at what interests you, and you can find a way to plug in and do something to give back. If you like seniors, you have a good rapport with them. There's many organizations that look for people to come and sit with seniors. Adopt a grandparent. There's so many areas to plug in. Sometimes we have to look within and see, what am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? And using that to kind of filter through, because there's so many organizations, it's, thousands and thousands of organizations. But figuring out what is it that I like to do, what can I do, and you may not want to interact with people at all, but you're fast at typing. Connect with an organization and say, hey, I can type up these letters that y'all are mailing to the senators. I can do that in my spare time. So it's just a matter of identifying what you're good at, or what you're passionate about, what you enjoy doing, and finding an organization or group that you can plug in and continue to help, spear that change.
Right. And then on the heels of that, just, the different projects that, within the community, why don't you share with us, a few of the things, because I know you have several, but just, a few of those, a few, so that people can, just identify you with those particular projects.
Yeah. So much stuff. It's easy to tell you what I'm not doing. But one of the groups I'm working with is Community Care Development Network. And that is with a friend of mine, Tamika Holmes. And we connected a few years ago around with teens and, the crew program and getting them where they need to be and learning how to put a resume together. And we just kind of stayed in contact, and she reached out to me, and we co-started a girls mentoring group.
Okay.
And so it's called Precious Pearls of Promise. We meet twice a month, And basically just, spending time with these young ladies, getting to know them and kind of helping them through either challenging situations, or it could be just encouraging them. But providing a safe space for them to be uniquely who they are. I'm one of those people that's like, hey, you can tell me whatever, with the exception of you hurting somebody else or you hurting yourself. Mm-hmm. That's between us. And I also have that conversation with parents. But we're getting ready to start back up for the year. So we're always looking for volunteers, and girls and guys, because we started mentoring with the boys also, to plug in and get the support that they need. But we also have a parents roundtable that meets quarterly.
Awesome.
And your child doesn't have to be a part of one of the mentoring groups. If you just want to come in and get the support from other parents, mm-hmm. and connect with other parents, and just build that camaraderie, because you have parents that may be feeling alone, especially if they're single parents, and feeling like that support is not out there. So we wanted to kind of facilitate a group that they can connect with each other. So that's one of them, and very proud of the kids. We got, I think, a couple of girls that's getting ready to graduate this year from high school. So proud of them. In addition to that, I've been working on this lecture series, based off of my experience from doing the Selma to Montgomery commemorative march in 2015.
Right.
Very spiritual experience for me and the other 299 people that participated in it, and just getting a different look at the movement through the eyes of those who kind of planned it, laid it out, and their experiences over that 5 days. A lot of times we see in the media Bloody Sunday and then King going to the Capitol. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then the Bowden Rights Act getting signed, and all that. And it's like, oh, we're good now. And then became President Obama. And it's like, there's so much more work.
Right.
Blood, sweat, and tears that went into that.
Oh my goodness.
It's like it kind of brings you back to this. That experience reminds me of, this is why it's so important that we have to work together, mm-hmm. not just across the color lines, but across gender, and work to achieve the things that we want to see happen in our community. Us leaving this world better for those who are coming behind us. And then lastly, I've been really focusing on this past year, and more so this year, is doing workshops on understanding personal bias,
yeah,
and talks on racial reconciliation. So not like the most popular topics,
right, right,
in the world,
but they're necessary.
God has a very funny sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have the fun, fluffy topics, but it's tough, but it's good stuff, and it's things that we have to address. And I decided to focus on bias because we all have it.
Okay.
We all have a bias, and people are like, well, Marie, I don't have a bias. I'm like, oh, okay, what do you like, vanilla or chocolate?
Well, see, they would say that's a preference. Like,
it's like, you have a bias. You do. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It
right.
just means you prefer something over another.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, okay. And so when I do the workshop on bias, I walk people through their background.
Okay.
And let's look at why you make the decisions you make. Things in your background have shaped you to why you make the decisions you make, why you choose to work where you work, why you go to why you went to the school that you went to, why you chose to live where you live. Certain things have happened that have led you to these different places, good, bad, or indifferent. You have developed biases because of the things you've experienced. And so getting people to kind of look more introspectively.
Right.
And see, oh, I didn't realize I was making that judgment. So when something happens, like an unfortunate police shooting, and you automatically start blaming the victim, or you have an attitude about it, where did that come from?
Okay.
So you're not just looking at it and mad, especially if you're mad at the victim. No, something somewhere down the line in your past, something happened, or some story started to be told to you that has brought you to this place now that you see that the way that you see it. So it's it's getting people in their place of, hey, I'm not saying you're bad, you're wrong, but let's look at why you get mad when a young man decides he's going to protest by kneeling during the national anthem. Why does that make you mad?
Right.
So it's tapping into that through the workshops, and then the talks on racial reconciliation, just giving people an opportunity to share their stories and let people know, this is what I have experienced. This is the hurtful things I've had to see and walk through, and I'm not mad at anybody, but understand that my story is real and valid.
Okay.
And so kind of providing that space. So I did probably about 7 or 8 of those last year, and actually the last one I did, we went to Oxford, Alabama.
Okay.
And very surprisingly diverse crowd. We had probably about 80 people or more that showed up on a Sunday afternoon. And we had 4 people, 4 black people shared their stories of the things that they've dealt with, and they all were from that area, the Oxford, Anniston area, and shared their stories of, this is what I went through. And it's not like this is stuff, because we look at, racial injustice and we put it back, oh, that was a long time ago. But these people are saying, this was in like the last 50 years
okay.
that I experienced these things, and this is how I fought to overcome it so it didn't, eat at me, and I'm still able to deal with people that don't look like me. But these are the things that have happened and that have hurt me. So, it's, so we had a great response, and, it was so many people that was like, how do we get one of these talks or conversations in our community? And so looking to continue that even more this year, because I think it's really, these conversations are really going to be needed now with where we are in society. So,
right.
Yeah, so those are the things I'm working on now, and just, trying to plug in where I can, where I feel led, to continue to uplift people and do my part to bring people together.
Right. And just you are, a minister and, you wear that hat too. And someone to me who's very in tune with, with spirituality and just, with who you are. I want to know, as far as faith is concerned, how has it guided you through the challenges that you faced?
Man, it's everything. I couldn't do this if I didn't have a strong faith in God. And it's, a lot of people equate their relationship with God or their level of faith with, their church membership or their church attendance. And what it is it's a relationship. And the things that I've gone through personally in life, from, health challenges and other things, all of those things kind of really aided in building my level of faith in God and putting me in a place of where I had to trust him, because I was trusting him for healing or whatever to bring me through a situation. So in my work now, it's so easy to lean on God and just kind of talk. I talk to him like I talk to you. It's like, okay, is this a good decision? Should I do this?
Right.
I don't know if I should be a part of this, and, I don't have to wait long really to get an answer. It's either instantaneously or it's, oh, okay, I don't need to do that. Or, oh, yeah, you need to be a part of that. So I really do my best to make sure, whatever I do is for the right reasons. People are going to be uplifted. I want to bring people back to love. I'm always encouraging people to forgive, because I know that's so big in us freely walking in what God has ordained us all to walk in. But yeah, that's everything for me. I have to stay close to what I feel like He wants me to do, and if I feel like it's something that's taking me away from what God has called me to do or what He has me doing at the time, then I will bow out of it. Not always a popular response that people, they don't always get it. And you can't always make people understand it. But, if God says, yep, the cloud has moved on that, it's time to move on, then I'm going to move on with it. But, I pray every single day, asking God for wisdom, whether I have a talk or whether I have absolutely nothing to do on my agenda for that day. But I want to make sure that I hear Him and I'm in tune enough to know, even if I'm at the supermarket, go talk to this person. It's a reason behind it. And being sensitive enough to hear and listen, no matter what it is or where He's sending me to.
Right,
so
right.
It's everything for me.
Yeah, and I would, I want you to share a little bit because I was there some years back, just, even when you were faced, with a challenge. And I just want you to encourage someone who they may be facing something, dealing with healing or diagnosis, but encourage them, by sharing, how do you get through that?
Yeah, it's that faith thing is so much easier said sometimes than done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can account to that. For about 3 or 4 years. This is before I moved back to Birmingham. Around 2006, 7, 8 in that area, I had been getting very sick a lot. Not really sure what was going on, but had been going to doctors and they could not figure it out for anything. But still trusting God. Moved back to Birmingham. Found some better doctors, and found out what was wrong with me. So I found out I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disease. And, serious diagnosis, but I had an awesome doctor. God had really blessed me with somebody great who said, look, I'm going to heavily medicate you because we got to get your levels where they're supposed to be, and then we're going to work on weaning you off. Okay, great. And even in doing what the doctor was saying, I still had to deal with how my body was feeling. Mm-hmm. Being sluggish, being in pain. I'm talking about maybe 2-3 years of just consistent pain.
Yeah.
Still working a full-time job.
Right.
And then working a full-time job where it wasn't like hunky-dory, go sit behind the desk and kind of, relax all day. I'm dealing with people who have real issues.
Right.
Real right now issues, from homelessness to drugs or whatever. But, it wasn't like somebody was mad over the, boyfriend, girlfriend. No, this is serious stuff. So having to be in tune with what I was charged to do in that position, but still fighting the pain in my body and trying to push through it. And so in getting treated for the Graves' disease, I ended up finding out I had, from what they saw at the time, was 6 masses in my uterus. And it was to the point of where they were like, okay, we got to do surgery, and we got to do surgery quick, because if we don't, your uterus can rupture, and, that's not a good thing. Okay, great. So going into that, trying to process it. All right, God, now we have found this issue. We're treating this. Now this?
Right,
really?
right.
This is not cool.
Would you say double for your trouble?
What is
this?
Like, oh my God.
Right.
And so sitting down and having to make a decision of, do I want them to remove everything and I completely remove the chance of having children in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to take the risk of them trying to go in and remove these masses that we don't know really what they are?
Okay.
You know, and having to make that decision is like, okay, oh my God. You know, and so now people are telling, oh, well, you got to pray more. And it's like, what else do you pray?
Wait a minute.
You pray everything you know to pray. I prayed all the faith scriptures and this, but this is still going on. I've literally gone from bad to worse. You know, this sucks. You know, and so, you know, I did my little pout and cry and mad. Why am I going through this? This sucks. This is not fair. And after I got all that out, then I had to make a decision of what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Do I want to pursue what I feel like God has called me to do, or is death better, which is easier? And I kind of went through this kind of limbo for 2 or 3 days of where am I? And I'm thinking, okay, you know, they say, you know, heaven is gain. Okay, you know, but I'm young. You know, I'm in my 30s. I don't know if I'm ready to gain like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you really think about it. And then it's like, okay, it's so much other stuff I really want to do and experience and see on this side. And so when I kind of got to the place where he's like, you know what? I'm going to stretch out on faith. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. But I'm going to trust God that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so I literally just like left it alone. I was like, I'm done. Surgery scheduled. I trust God that whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. Mm-hmm. If it is his will that I come through this surgery, then I'm expecting him to make everything work. I'm expecting him to work through the doctor's hands. And they're going to be able to remove whatever it is. You know, I was calling them the aliens at the time because I was like, I don't know.
What you said?
You know, they're going to go in and get the aliens out and then, you know, heal up and let's keep it moving. Or if God is like, you know what, this is the time frame that I had ordained for you to be on this earth, then it is what it is. And so when I got completely comfortable with that, it was like pure peace. Like, it's so weird to even, like, I can't even think of a word to kind of describe the feeling. Mm-hmm. But it was just like, we cool, we good. You know, so got up that morning, and I had friends from out of town calling me, you know, I want to pray with you and everything. And I'm like, I'm good, but if it's going to make you feel better, you know.
You so
you can pray for me, cool. You know, so about 5 or 6 phone calls of that. You know, next morning, got up, we went for the surgery, and, you know, she came. I found out a couple of days later because I was, you know, out of it after the surgery. But she was like, hey, we were able to remove what I found out later was 8 masses. Whoa. Mostly grapefruit size.
Wow.
And it's like, hey, we were able to save everything. So if you choose to have kids, you will be able to do so.
All right.
So it's like, awesome, God, you're awesome. So not only did I make it through the surgery, I got to make it through the surgery with all my equipment, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
so,
right.
You know, but it was really, it wasn't anything anybody could give me. You know my mom. My mom's a prayer warrior, you know, out of this world.
Yes.
And her faith could not carry me through that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I had to get to a place of where I said, all right, God, this is me and you. Mm-hmm. This is what, I'm not really sure what you want me to do, but I feel like I have purpose. So if you see that there's still purpose for my life, I want to be here to do it. So I'm going to trust you. You said cast all my cares upon you. This is the biggest care I got right now.
Right.
So I'm putting it in your hands. But see, where people mess up a lot of times is that they say they cast their cares out on God, but then they're still worrying about the situation.
Right.
And you can't be in faith and worry at the same time.
Right.
It's like light and darkness. They can't exist in the same space. You know, and so when I gave it to God, I was done with it. In my mind, the surgery was already done. Now I just had to walk it out.
Right.
So we have to get to that place. And don't get me wrong, it did happen overnight, going through the steps of, you know, increasing my vitamin levels in my body and my blood levels through my consistent doctor's appointments, helped build that faith up to where I got this huge bad news of that now this is what you're really facing. But I had built up that faith muscle, you know, that had been exercising because I'm taking medicine. Okay, I'm going to get better. Oh, I'm going to get stronger a little bit. Okay, all right, I'm still praying. God is working. Awesome. Now I got to deal with this. Boom. And it's like, but no, you've exercised enough to be strong enough to faith your way through this. And that's kind of where I got to. And I think the devil has attacked a lot of people in the area of health. A lot of people that I know personally. But we have to keep our mind on God, not on the situation. As bleak as it seems sometimes, because sometimes it's hard not to see what you're dealing with.
Right.
Sometimes it's very difficult, especially if you're in the hospital or you get a bad diagnosis. It's very difficult to not see that. But even in seeing that, we have to see it, deal with the emotions. Like I say, pick your time to be mad. Be mad for that length of time.
Yeah.
Now, what's the work that we got to do?
Right.
And then that's when you have to cast that on God and say, all right, I'm trusting you. You and your word said X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So I'm believing that. Now, that don't mean be in faith and stop taking your medicine. No.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right. What'd you say? That's foolishness now. Right. That is not what you said. That is
faith without works.
Right.
So,
right.
take your, be in faith and then work and go take your medicine.
Right.
But you still do those things, but you're still putting your faith in God. And He will reward you, I believe, and bringing you through that. And then God, it wasn't just a thing where I'm just going through life. But God would always bring people through where I least expected it as encouragement.
Yeah.
Even in being in faith and still having to walk it out and being in pain, and somebody would come by and be encouraging. Most of the time it's from people I didn't even expect to hear it from.
Right.
And so we have to be that open to God to allow Him to bring things together for us. Because a lot of times we get in the way.
Yeah.
And we prevent Him from getting what He needs to get us. And that you may not even be dealing with a health issue. He may be trying to bring you something in your life to take you to the next level.
Right.
But, a lot of times we so busy trying to plan every single detail out, that we're not giving God that space to freely move in our life. So my encouragement to whoever is listening, whoever's going through is, to exercise your faith. Exercise that faith muscle. And you might have to exercise it in little things. You may be like, hey, T, I'm not going through anything right now.
Right.
That may be true. That don't mean a storm ain't coming. But if you exercise your faith in God in the little things, when the big things come, it won't be hard to let go and let God.
Right.
And that's what we got to do. We got to get more. And for us to see our country change,
right.
We got to really put our faith in God and then doing the little work that we need to do, whether it's in our communities, whether it's at our kids' school, whether it's calling a senator, whether it's signing a petition, whatever that is, we got to do the work, but then put our faith in God. And then the last key to that is also forgiveness.
Right.
Because a lot of times things happen either to us or outside of us or around us, and we get mad and we judge it and we get frustrated, and I don't like that, and this is how I feel about that. We got to get past that. You got to forgive.
Yes.
You got to get to that place of where you letting things go, because those things build up. And, studies have shown people who carry things, they start to develop challenges in their bodies because of the things that they're carrying around from their past.
Right, right.
So we have to let those things go. And a lot of people think, well, if I forgive, so-and-so, then I'm saying what happened was okay. And you're not saying that at all. You can actually tell so-and-so what they did was not okay.
Right.
But your forgiving them has nothing to do with them. You forgiving them is releasing yourself.
That's right.
From them holding on to you.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. We have to let that stuff go so you can see clearly. And a lot of times you can't even fully exercise your faith like you need to if you're holding on to stuff. Right. So if you want to start really taking your faith to the next level, to get your healing, to get that job, to get whatever it is you're trying to do, you got to find out what it is that you need to let go of and to forgive. And a person you need to forgive may be dead and gone.
Well,
but still forgive them.
Right.
Because you're the one that's still locked into that.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely I encourage anybody, whatever's holding you back, whether it was something done to you in your childhood, whether it was something done to you yesterday, you got to forgive it and give it to God and move on. And that's what we got. And it has to become a habit. You know, I've gotten to the place, my mom preached forgiveness growing up. She just dogmatic about it. And so for me, it's nothing for me now. And it's really second nature. If somebody does something that ticks me off, you know, my response is,
quick to forgive.
Lord, I forgive so-and-so.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm done with it. And then they see me later and they like, oh my God, is she still mad? And I'm like, oh, I'm done with that. It's gone.
Right.
I'm done with it.
Right.
So people have to get to that level to really, truly, fully walk in everything that I feel like God is calling us to do. We have to be willing and able to forgive and let stuff go, because he can't bring us something new that he desires for us if we're still holding on to the past.
Well, hey, I feel like you, I know, but I feel like you gave the last minute piece of advice. We have a closing segment that's called Matters of the Heart moment. And so I do have a couple other questions, but you still can give a last minute piece of advice if you want to, but you have said quite a bit. But speaking to your 4-year-old self, what would you say to her?
To my 4-year-old
self.
What would I say to 4-year-old me? Nothing.
Okay.
I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't say anything because everything that I've experienced, I went through some interesting things even that young of age, and with some even more interesting things coming in the years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say anything because all those things shaped and got me to where I am today.
Okay. That's perfect. And who motivates you?
Wow. You know, who motivates me is so crazy. It's kind of twofold. The young people that I do know, that I've had the opportunity to be a part of their lives and seeing them grow and mature into young men and women, they motivate me because I want to be a good example. You know, I don't think anybody chooses to just be a role model. But whether I choose to be a role model or not, that doesn't stop people from watching you. So I want to be a good example of how to do things right for the young people that I am a part of their lives. And the other people that motivate me are the people that I don't know. The people that I don't know, because I know I'm in a position with the work that I do that people watch me that I don't even know who they are.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
If I'm speaking somewhere, it's one me.
Right.
And it's a room full of people, so there's no way for me to know everybody that's there. So I say the people that I don't know, because I know they're watching my life. They're watching what I post on Facebook to see if they can grab some level of inspiration from it. So that's what motivates me.
Well, that's perfect. I appreciate you so much for, just being with us today and just sharing with us, TK. It's been an honor. And
anytime.
Yeah. And so did you have anything last that you wanted to share though?
Yeah. My last thing would be, because I know I've had to do this myself, I would encourage everybody that's listening to forgive themselves. I think a lot of times we make decisions and choices that may have seemed right in the moment that we were making them, but may have turned out differently.
Right.
Or things like that, and we hold on to that and we judge ourselves to the same degree, if not worse, of how we judge how people treat us.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that people are holding themselves in bondage because of a bad decision, a bad relationship, a bad job choice, a bad move, and that is preventing you from going to where God has you to go because you're still holding yourself in a prison. So I would encourage everybody to just take the time to examine themselves and see if there's choices that you have made that you're still holding yourself hostage to that choice, and to forgive yourself for making that choice and the consequences that came behind it, so that you can move forward in your life. So, put your faith in God, forgive other people, and forgive yourself.
That's perfect. Well, I guess you all have heard it. And so, as always, my team and we're here to be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with. And we want to do it with the spirit of excellence. So we look forward to spending time with you all next week. Talk to you soon.